The election of 1896. Cleveland had no chance for re-election to a third term. He had failed to correct the Depression of 1893, barely managed to keep the U.S. Treasury full, angered many middle-class constituents by using federal troops to end the Pullman strike, and neglected to keep his promise to significantly reduce the Wilson-Gorman tariff. These problems proved insurmountable for him. As the election of 1896 approached, Democrats instead nominated the so-called boy orator from Nebraska, William Jennings Bryan, on a populist-inspired platform for free silver, as he had delivered his rousing Cross of Gold speech, condemning the gold standard. The populists threw their support to Bryan and the Democrats to keep the Republicans out of office. This was the most important election since the Civil War. We are very lucky today to have President William McKinley here with us. Mr. McKinley, what was your platform?
I sponsored the McKinley Tariff. I was pro-business. I appealed to the American people, and I crushed the populist stream for free silver.
Very good. Thank you. Is that it? Oh, okay. The Spanish-American War. William McKinley entered the White House just as the nation was gearing up to its biggest foreign flare-up yet, the Cuban crisis. Spain still controlled the island just 90 miles south of Florida, despite repeated American attempts to wrest it away. Depressed sugar prices in the 1890s led Cuban farmers to rebel against their Spanish overlords in a bloody revolution. Spanish forces under General Butcher Weyler tried to crack down on the insurrection by herding all suspected revolutionaries, including children, into concentration camps. Americans learned about the situation from the lurid yellow press of the day as newspaper titans William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer printed sensationalistic stories to outdo each other in a competition for readers. Remember the Maine. The controversial DeLome letter outraged Americans. Published in newspapers in 1898, the letter from Spanish minister to the United States, Dupuy de Lome, derided McKinley as a dim-witted politician. Shortly thereafter, more than 250 American seamen serving aboard the USS Maine died when the ship mysteriously exploded while anchored in Havana Harbor. Although Spanish officials and historians have concluded that a boiler room accident caused the explosion, Americans at home quickly concluded that Spanish agents had sabotaged the ship. Millions cried, "Remember the Maine," and pressured Congress and McKinley for war. War erupts. McKinley didn't want war, however. He eventually requested a war declaration from Congress in April 1898 Right now we have Teddy Roosevelt with us. Theodore, what group did you start?
The Rough Riders.
What are the Rough Riders?
Troops that invaded Cuba.
What did you charge?
The famous San Juan Hill.
Did Cuba fall?
Yes, they did.
Congratulations. Post-war legislation. The United States honored the Teller Amendment of 1898, which declared that the United States did not have an interest in controlling Cuba after the war, and withdrew from Cuba in 1902, but not before including the Platt Amendment in the Cuban Constitution to give the United States a permanent military base at Guantanamo Bay. The war gave McKinley more headaches than it cured. First, McKinley had to fight an insurrection led by Filipino rebel Luis Aguinaldo against American forces in the annexed Philippines. It took several years of bloody jungle warfare before the U.S. forces defeated him, but even then, Filipinos resisted assimilation into white American culture. The Supreme Court ruled in the 1901 Insular Cases that people in the newly acquired foreign lands do not have the same constitutional rights as Americans at home. Congress still upheld the 1900 Foraker Act that granted Puerto Ricans limited self-government and eventually full U.S. citizenship in 1917. Finally, McKinley had to contend with the vocal new Anti-Imperialist League and its prominent membership, which challenged his expansionist policies and the incorporation of new, unassimilable peoples into America. That William Jennings Bryan and free. And that, children, concludes our reading of The American Story. Thank you for joining us on our expedition through American history, and we hope that you will join us again soon to enrich your knowledge.